Oh, you'll like this one.
Oh, okay.
Number 6 on my list of most influential people, films, etc. in horror history, George Romero. George Romero is on my list because just like Friday the 13th and Halloween started the whole sub-genre of slasher films, George Romero gave us the zombie apocalypse that we know today. I don't care if it's fast zombies, I don't care if it's slow zombies. George Romero gave us the zombies that came from an infected virus, or we got it from an asteroid or whatever. But eventually, you're having a zombie apocalypse, and it's survive or be eaten.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And whereas before, in the old horror movies that would feature zombies, it was always voodoo.
Yeah.
It was voodoo. It was zombies from Haiti. It was zombies from Louisiana. Zombies brought about by Santeria. George Romero started the genre that we know and love today, and if it weren't for George Romero, we would have no Walking Dead, and I would be a sad, sad clown.
So would I. As everybody knows, Walking Dead is the best.
It is.
But I was going to ask you something. Did you like the remakes of Dawn of the Dead, which I think is I think
the one with Ving Rhames?
Yes.
It was all right.
Okay.
I like the originals better. The reason why I like the original Dawn of the Dead better is because it was really making a statement against capitalism.
Yeah, because it was
all in the mall. They were locked in the mall.
Yeah.
They were trying to survive there, and here you got these zombies trying to get them, and it's just like, oh, yeah, we're not here to buy anything. We're here to escape the zombies.
Yeah,
we're here to survive.
Yeah,
we're turning this into our own little private bunker. So that's why I like the original Dawn of the Dead better. But it all started with Night of the Living Dead.
Yes,
it really
it's
did.
a great film. I also like Day of the Dead. I was actually, for some reason, I like Day of the Dead a little bit more than Dawn of the Dead. I don't know why. I think I just like the fact that they're all kind of hunkered down in this bunker area, and I just think Tom Savini's makeup and the effects that he did, you gotta tip your hat to him. I mean,
Tom Savini's one of the best of all time.
And just the fact that, the scene at the end of Day of the Dead when the guy is ripped apart, that is just an insane scene to watch. And the fact that it's all practical effects. Again, it's just like, you can't... Romero, he came up with the concepts, but Savini is the one that came up with, executing them on screen, and I just think that, without his makeup effects, I don't think they'd be as strong as they are.
It's funny you mentioned that because number 5 on my list is makeup artists.
Yep.
Makeup artists are so influential to horror films.
Absolutely.
If you're going to do a horror film, more often than not, your horror film's going to have a monster. If it has a monster, it needs makeup. The better the makeup artist, the better the monster, the better the horror film.
Yep.
Makeup artists are crucial. There's a reason why Face Off is so popular on Sci-Fi Network.
I've seen parts. I've seen a couple of them.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're all makeup artists, competing. You know the show.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, and if it weren't for makeup artists throughout history, going back, Lon Chaney Sr. did his own makeup.
Absolutely.
Then they unionized, and then you had Jack Pierce was the head makeup guy at Universal doing all of this stuff. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Boris Karloff Frankenstein makeup is still under copyright protection.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I know when they did the movie Monster Squad, they could use the characters, but they couldn't, because Universal didn't put the film out. They had to sort of change the way they looked a little bit because of that. And I think you're right about that.
Yeah. So it was similar looking.
But it wasn't exactly.
There was no way they could do the same kind of bolts on here and this and that and blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's just one of the best. You think Frankenstein. I know they've re-envisioned. Even with the I, Frankenstein movie that came out with.
I'm looking forward to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
You ever read any of the comics it's based on?
No, I read I, Vampire, but I never read I, Frankenstein.
I, Frankenstein's really cool.
But they've changed his look so much, but when I think Frankenstein, I think of
Boris Karloff.
That's just that's Frankenstein to me.
Then more modern ones like Ben Nye, Dick Smith, of course.
Yeah.
And I was even going to give a shout out to Tom Savini on here too. And so, makeup artists. Boom.
Yeah. I've already named a couple because I named Rick Baker. I named
Rick Baker.
Greg Nicotero. I've Rob Bottin.
The Westmore family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bud Westmore, Wally Westmore.
Yeah. I think that you're absolutely right. It all comes down to the makeup.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right too. It's all about the practical makeup
Yeah.
along with seamless CGI. nowadays.
There's a few. Yeah, there's a few that have really done it really well. I don't know if you've heard of a film called Laid to Rest or Crumb Skull. I can't, the name of the director is escaping me right now, but that's a film where they blend it seamlessly and it's a low budget film series, deals with a serial killer called Crumb Skull. He's got a chrome mask on.
Okay.
Kind of like Jason in terms of theme, he doesn't speak and everything like that, but the way that they do the effects in it, they actually do it with practical and CGI, and it's seamless. Wow. And it's like, for a low budget film, they do a great job.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Next on my list that I have to talk about, this is going a little ahead, but I want to talk about Blair Witch. Blair Witch Project is. I don't really care for found footage films. I've said that several times. I can name a handful of ones that I think are really excellent. But I was in film school when Blair Witch Project got announced, and I just thought the concept was so interesting that these students went into, to do this documentary about this Blair Witch, and they disappeared and they found their footage. And I said, what a great idea.
Yeah.
If I knew it was going to turn into the cesspool of found footage type horror films, I don't know if I would have been as happy about it coming out, but I thought it was just one of those one-offs that was just going to be kind of different. I think it had a smart marketing campaign. Mm-hmm. I think they were smart to make it seem like it really happened, and plus that it was supposed to have happened 5 to 6 years before the film came out was really interesting, because then I started going, God, did that really happen? I didn't hear about that in 1994. And I just, because I was in
What was
school.
I doing in 94?
It was like, and my friend Cindy Kennard was telling me, oh, you got to see this movie called Blair Witch. And I'm like, I've never heard of it. And then I saw posters all over film school of this, this poster back here.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I have to see this film. And I saw it before the hype. I saw it before it blew up. Mm-hmm. And it scared the shit out of me. It was a film that really just scared the shit out of me. And I think it's because I don't like to be lost. I would hate to be trapped in the woods and not know how to get back to my car. And, it just, you don't see anything. It's all sounds. It's your imagination. You're seeing what you want to see in that film. And the fact that those kids that were in the film, that were the actors, were directing it, I mean, the directors really just told them what to do, and they directed that film. But it's so
I believe they improv the lines throughout the entire movie.
But it's
unfortunately, you can tell at times because they weren't the best actors.
They weren't the best actors. Yeah. But, I mean, there was a couple of times. I think Joshua Leonard was, like, the best out of them, and I think he's gone on to do more, and that's because he is, I think, a stronger actor than the other two. But Heather and Mike, I think that, there was parts of it that, the acting isn't the best, but I still think it still freaks me out. It still freaks me out to this day, and I think
it's not the perfect movie, and it's not the best horror movie ever made.
No, not at all.
And it's not the best acted, but you're right. It is groundbreaking.
It is groundbreaking
completely because of the found footage.
Yes.
Twist.
Yeah.
You have other films that came out that do the same kind of first person thing. You got Cloverfield.
Cloverfield, I think, was good though.
Yeah,
I did like Cloverfield. I did like Quarantine, which was the Americanized. It was Record. Is it Record? It's a Spanish film, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've never seen the Spanish version, but I did see Quarantine. I did like that one.
Yeah.
And there's one other one that's escaping me. I thought The Last Exorcism was pretty good. But then there's ones that are like coming out, like the Paranormal Activities and some of the other.
A lot of those have like the hidden camera
thing.
That, speaking of through the camera's eyes, movies that are shown through the camera's eyes, almost like documentary style or something like that. I think I asked you before. Have you seen Frankenstein's Army?
Yes, I own it.
I love that movie. Not the best acted movie in the world either.
No,
but talk about.
It was well done.
It was extremely well done. Never would have thought of that kind of a concept,
And I didn't even know it was a found footage movie until you said something about it, and then I bought it, and I'm like, oh, Ray said this was good. And I was like watching it going, it's found footage. But it was done so well, and I think I think it's execution. I think if you have a good director, if you have somebody that understands how a horror film should play out, then you might get a better final product than some of the ones where they're like, oh, we're just going to have jump scares every 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to have it so seamlessly edited that it doesn't even seem like a found footage film.
But what a novel idea. So Frankenstein is working for the Nazis, taking dead Nazi soldiers, putting weapons on them and bringing them back to life and putting them back out into the war.
And I don't know how they did some of that stuff. It's like, it was
Dude
just,
had a propeller for a head.
I know.
He was all. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but holy cow!
Yeah,
Go get
insane.
that movie and watch it. It's a nutty idea.
Yeah,
Love
it was great, just the way they did it. Yeah, I mean, I was shocked watching it. Going, I'm like, how are they doing this?
Yes.
It's like, and it was done so well because it didn't look fake at all.
No. It's very steampunk.
Yes,
very steampunk. Number 4 on my list, Wes Craven.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's been any other director / screenwriter / producer that has contributed more to horror films than Wes Craven. All the way back to Last House on the Left.
Rough movie to watch.
Really rough movie to watch.
The remake was rough too.
Oh, I haven't seen the remake yet.
They're both rough. I mean, he didn't direct the remake, but he produced it.
Yeah.
They're just, it's like, I mean, I love him, but I don't think I can watch those movies again. It's like, I mean, it's just rape. The rape in a film just bothers me. It's such a
violation.
Well, it is, and it's just like,
rights,
yeah, it's just like, it's not just a quick scene. It's long, and it's like
brutal.
It's like I Spit on Your Grave, kind of jumping off of that. Like, that's another one. I'm like, okay, I saw it once. I can appreciate it.
But for 40 some odd years now, I can't think of a decade that did not have a Wes Craven movie in it. I don't. It almost seems like there's a Wes Craven horror flick at least every 3 years, too. Yeah. You know, if not directed or written by, then produced by.
Yeah.
So he's got his hands in horror history for 40 some odd years, and bless him for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street. You got even Shocker, which a lot of people aren't big fans of Shocker. I like Shocker.
I love that because it reminded me of like the Spider-Man villain Electro.
Electro, yeah.
I was like, it's Electro if he was a death row murderer.
Yeah,
which he kind of was at times. I guess.
Yeah, he could have been.
He would have killed people.
Yeah, he would have.
Yeah.
People Under the Stairs.
I love Shocker. Yeah, People Under the Stairs. The Scream series.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one that was going to be on that I was going to talk about too. But I'll just sort of piggyback off of what you said. I mean, Scream reinvented the horror genre.
Yes, it did.
Because prior to that, I mean, you had like a good 4 or 5 years where there was nothing. I mean, with the exception of maybe Body Parts with Jeff Fahey, which I really love, Candyman with Tony Todd, which I loved. After that, you didn't have a lot. There wasn't a lot coming out. No. And then Scream came along, and it came along at Christmas time.
In 95, 96?
December of 96. And they said it was going to be DOA, Dead in the Water. No one was going to see it. And the fact that Kevin Williamson, wrote it, and, it was a type of horror film that played on the conventions of horror films.
Yes.
And other films had tried to do things like that. You had
make fun of themselves.
Yeah, like April Fool's Day, American Werewolf in London. You had those kind of films where they tried to be comedies with a little horror to it, and people didn't understand that. They were like, oh, am I supposed to be laughing here? Is this supposed to be serious? Mm-hmm. But Scream just had that. It came around at the right time when the genre needed to be reborn.
Yes.
And I think without Wes Craven's direction, I don't think it would have been the successful franchise.
No, because he'd already been at it for 30 years.
Yeah.
He was the most learned person to handle the Scream series.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let it have the kind of flavor it needed to have. Mm-hmm. Let it have the kind of... like I said, the tongue-in-cheek, making fun of itself, but also genuinely a scary slasher movie,
the opening shot, and again, he took an homage, there was an homage to Psycho, with Drew Barrymore being at the beginning, and originally she was going to be cast as the, not Courtney Cox, but Neve Campbell's character. She was going to be the main character, and she's like,
Sydney.
No, I think it would be better if I'm the girl at the beginning, the one that's going to get, because...
that resurrected her career.
Yeah.
Getting killed off in the
Casey
first
Becker
10 minutes.
At the beginning.
She was,
and it's like...
And then every movie had Drew Barrymore in it for like the next 10 years.
Which I didn't have a problem with.
Oh, neither do I.
She's very hot. She's still hot.
Yeah.
Still hot. I don't care what anybody says.
But Tom Green? Really?
Oh. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, he kind of went crazy after that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. He started a little crazy.
It was... And then, speaking of homage to... Psycho, again, weapon of choice.
Yep. Same thing.
Same thing. And big ass butcher knife.
Yep, and they even have a line in it where he says, we all go a little crazy sometimes.
That's true.
So it's like, there was, little, and I think that was neat because I think maybe that actually is where the horror genre where people now are becoming bigger horror fans. Before that, horror was very cultish.
Yeah.
And I think there you had it going into mainstream. Of course, you had Nightmare on Elm Street was a huge, series, and that was, big box office and everything. But before that, a lot of people didn't talk about horror. People that liked horror were the goth people. They were the people that were they were shunned from society.
The popular kids.
But then you had Scream come out, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, which it parlayed into that, and Urban Legend, and some of those films. And maybe they weren't as good as Scream, but it's sort of transcended to the popular demographic.
It did. It really did. And it also, I think, helped introduce some of the younger folk at that time, your 16, 17, 18-year-olds, to horror films, and especially Scream, the way horror films should be done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, because it was well done. It had a great director, and I think that's why, the series endured. I mean, it's a shame that Scream 4 wasn't as well received, but I think, again, it waited too long to come out.
Yes, it did.
Because, they waited 11 years. And at that point, then you already have a new genre. I mean, you've already gone through the Saws and the Hostels, and then you're going into, like, the, it's like you have the, like, Dead Silence and the paranormal type of films. Insidious was, like, huge that year. So those are, like, so those were now that's the big ones.
Speaking of writers, number 3 on my list of most influential horror history figures and movies, Stephen King.
Yep. I'm a fan myself.
There you go. No other author of novels, of short stories, has done more for horror films than Stephen King. Granted, he's also written, direct screenplays as well.
Yeah.
But he's mostly known for his novels.
His books, yeah.
His books. And how many have been made into movies? I've lost count. Why? Because they rock.
What's your favorite one?
It's probably a tie between... It might be cheating a little bit because it is a mini-series for all intents and purposes.
That's a great film.
It's a great film when you take it as a long film.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's a tie between it and I love Carrie.
Yeah, did you see the remake?
I have not seen the remake. I saw the made-for-TV remake.
I didn't see that
because I just didn't think 98 or something like that.
It was either 98 or I think it was in 2002 actually.
Maybe it was.
It was like about 10 years ago. But they were trying to make it a series, weren't they?
I don't know. I just saw. All I saw was the made-for-TV movie. It was on I think Movieplex one day. I was flipping channels and I was like, huh, and I watched it and I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not as good as the original.
No, and I saw the remake with
Chloe Moretz.
Chloe Grace Moretz, and she's phenomenal in it. I mean, I think she's got a long career. She's a great actress. But again, it was for me. It's like it didn't need to be remade.
Yes, it does not need to be remade.
A lot of people think that the original De Palma film is very dated, especially like with the music and things like that. They said, oh, it's got a very kind of Lifetime-ish kind of look to it, Lifetime television kind of look to it in terms of the way it was shot and the cinematography. But I've always thought that's what makes it what it is, and I don't think it needs to be remade for a generation now because I still think the subject still is prevalent.
Yes,
prevalent now. Yeah, it's like I mean, my favorite Stephen King film is Salem's Lot. It always will be. I think Pet Sematary is one of the best.
Yes, it
is. It was a screenplay. One of the first. He had done a couple of other films where I think he wrote the screenplay for Silver Bullet, which was Cycle of the Werewolf. But in terms of the book, and then he also did like Maximum Overdrive, which a lot of people laugh.
We forgive you, Stephen King.
He had the Green
Maximum
Goblin
Overdrive.
truck. He had the truck with the Green Goblin on it. That was awesome.
It's
not a great. It's not a great film.
Pile of Emilio Estevez is what it was. Awful movie.
But Pet Sematary is like he adapted his novel for a movie, and the fact that they're talking about remaking it pisses me off.
No,
it's
they
like
cannot
just don't
do
remake Pet
Don't
Sematary.
remake Pet
it's
Sematary.
a beautiful,
it's a
wonderful
standalone
film.
on its own. Ed Gwynn You can't replace
Fred Gwynn.
Fred Gwynn.
Fred Gwynn. Come
I'm
on.
thinking of a different.
You're thinking of Ed Gein.
Ed
I said
Gein.
that.
You
There
said
you
Ed
go.
Gein
Yeah, I said
earlier.
Ed Gein. So
Fred Gwynn. He's irreplaceable.
No, you can't do that. And it's like it's a great film still to this day. They're actually making a documentary on it right now called Dead. I think it's called Dead and Buried: The Making of Pet Sematary. And they're getting. I mean, of course, Fred Gwynn unfortunately has passed away, but everybody else that was in it is going to be in this documentary.
Awesome.
And it's supposed to be coming out, I think, in the next couple of years, but it's independently done. And
first time I ever saw Pet Sematary, I was about 13 years old, maybe a little older, 14. We rented it on VHS, and we were watching it at my grandmother's house. And it was so suspenseful that I was like so close to the TV, and I was just waiting for something to happen, and then all of a sudden, my grandmother's telephone rings, and I scream and I jump out of my chair because I was expecting, the cat to attack me or
church,
and the baby, ugh.
Do you like The Shining?
I like The Shining.
Do you? I mean, because it is different from the book.
Yeah, it is. It takes some liberties.
Yeah.
And it leaves a whole lot out. What did you see the made-for-TV miniseries?
I've done a few videos on those, and actually people have shared their opinions about their thoughts. A lot of people write the miniseries off because I mean it's hard to compete with Stanley Kubrick,
and
Jack Nicholson. I mean Shelley Duvall, and
no relation.
And every and of course, and even the Danny Lloyd who played Danny Torrance, which I thought. It was his only movie he did, but he was very effective in that movie. And the little boy that played him in the remake, or I don't want to call it a remake because it's Stephen King's version of his book.
It is, and it kind of stands alone because whereas The Shining, obviously they crammed as much as they could into the movie, but they left out a whole lot of things. Like for instance, they don't really explain what The Shining is.
No, the
miniseries did. They spent a lot of time on that. And that's one thing I love about the miniseries.
Yeah, because you see Tony, like you find out who Tony is.
Yes.
And like, because in the it was just this red rum, it was just that.
I think what people don't like about the made-for-TV one is they will always prefer Jack Nicholson over Steven Weber.
Yeah, Steven Weber was, but what a thing to follow. I mean, it's like I thought Rebecca De Mornay did a great job as Wendy. But it is more faithful to the book than Kubrick's. Kubrick took the idea and then just made kind of a domestic tragedy out of it, whereas the spirits in the hotel were almost like an afterthought.
Yes.
Because Jack Torrance's character, played by Jack Nicholson, is already insane. If you watch from frame one, he is nuts. Mm-hmm. Whereas the way Steven Weber plays him and the way he's written in the book is it's a slow descent into madness.
Yes.
And it's almost like the hotel and the spirits are a catalyst that are kind of bringing that out of him.
Yes, and plus they're stuck there.
Yeah, they're stuck.
They're stuck. They've got nowhere to go. He's getting cabin fever, too,
It's like because he's isolated and, he's going crazy. But, the way that if you watch the Kubrick film, and that was Stephen King's biggest issue with it, is that Jack Nicholson looks insane from frame one.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
But that's kind of
Jack why we like Jack Nicholson. I mean, he's awesome. But
really funny story, really quick, speaking of Jack Nicholson. My brother used to be the head of the performing arts department.
Your brother was Jack Nicholson.
No, yes, my brother's Jack Nicholson. Funny enough, though, whenever I go to, my last name is Duval.
Yeah.
One L. Whenever I go to an audition, people, I'm an actor as well. People always ask me, so, are you related to the Robert Duvall? And I tell them, straight face, yeah, he's my brother.
That's awesome.
And they're like, what? No way. Kidding me. Just like, well, I have a brother. His name is Robert Duvall. He is an actor, but he's probably not the one you're thinking of. Well, he used to be the head of the performing arts department at a prestigious private school in Los Angeles called Windward, and all kinds of famous kids, actors, all kinds of famous people's kids were his students, like Jamie Lee Curtis and Christopher Guest's adopted children, stuff like that. Well, anyway, he was excited because he was going to go on a campus tour with Jack Nicholson and his daughter because she was thinking about going to Windward.
Nice.
And so my brother's going along with them on the tour because she was interested in the performing arts department. My brother was like, "This is great. I get to see what Jack Nicholson is really like. He's going to be there with his daughter. You know, we're going to be touring the campus. You know, it's not going to be the Lakers courtside Jack Nicholson.
No,
it's not going to
be
be the
yeah.
Oscars. It's going to be a dad and his daughter.
Just
I get
a
to see
normal
what the
guy,
real
kinda,
Jack
yeah.
Nicholson is like. You know what the real Jack Nicholson is like? Jack Nicholson.
I figured he would be.
Every single walking around with his sunglasses on, chomping his gum. So, this is a real nice campus they got here, huh, sweetheart? He is a caricature of himself.
I think because he kind of plays himself in
every
everything.
movie.
Even in you go back to what's the one with Peter Fonda? And
Oh yeah, Easy Rider.
Easy Rider.
He's Jack Nicholson.
He's Jack Nicholson. You go back to Little Shop of Horrors. He's Jack Nicholson.
Yes.
I mean, he's
all the
always
way
been-
back.
all the
That's
way
all
back.
the way
That's
back.
all
The
the way
original
back, yeah.
one, the Roger Corman one. Yes.
Yes, and then go One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
You know, surprisingly enough, the one Jack Nicholson movie that I think he wasn't so much himself, but it was also a really good horror film, was Wolf.
Oh yeah, Wolf was good.
I like Wolf a lot.
A lot of people don't talk about that, and they say, and I forget about it. I think because it was one of those weird kind of films. It was kind of horror, but it was also kind of like one of those thriller kind of movies too, because it had that mystery and there was like a different sense to it than just being a straightforward horror film.
The werewolfism wasn't so in your face.
No, it wasn't.
It was
like
a
American
gradual
Werewolf.
thing.
It was like through the course of the film.
Yes.
And you just see him slowly metamorphosize.
I love the end fight between him and James Spader.
Spader.
That was nutty werewolf on werewolf. Oh, and when he was in the cage and he was trying to get out, and he's about to do Michelle Pfeiffer doggy style. Oh man, what the hell? That I felt violated watching that, because could you imagine?
Yeah.
Being a woman about to be doggy style raped by a werewolf?
Yeah, James Spader werewolf.
Yeah, even worse.
He's kind of aggressive.
Yeah, very aggressive.
Going back to Wolf, though, which I think was also cool, is the opening shot where he's driving home, because it's almost pays a little bit of an homage to the opening of The Shining, because he's driving to the Overlook, and it's same kind of road, isolated, he's by himself. I mean, I always thought that was kind of... It was just kind of weird how it was very similar in terms of that opening to the opening of the Kubrick film.
One other thing about Wolf that I really like too is Jack Nicholson himself. Like I said, he wasn't being a caricature of himself. He was taking the role seriously, and throughout the movie, he starts off a little out of shape, a little fat, and throughout the course of filming, obviously, he gets cooler. He gets better looking. His hair gets better. He gets thinner. He's in more shape. And then by the end of the movie, when he's running off into the forest, he looks like Jack Nicholson body from 1968.
Yeah, when he was younger.
In shape. He really got very good attention to detail and very good continuity for that
Mike
movie.
Nichols,
Wolf.
I think, directed that.
Yeah, Mike Nichols did.
Good director.
Yeah, very much so.
All right.
Awesome.
Just to talk a little bit about Stephen King, since we're on that subject.
Yes, please.
I mean, some other great films of Stephen King's, I think, are Cujo. I love Cujo.
Cujo's great.
I think Christine is good because, again, John Carpenter. A lot of people sort of write that movie off, but I actually really like it.
It starts off really slow for me.
Yeah, and then it just gets it sort of builds
better
up.
and better and better. Yeah.
Another great Stephen King film, The Secret Window with Johnny Depp. I think I think people appreciate it. I think it's a little underrated, but I think it's
before people started getting sick of Johnny Depp.
Hey, I like Johnny Depp. You can't badmouth Johnny Depp in here. Okay, you need to stop.
Tonto.
Hey.
Enough said.
Hey, don't listen to him. Okay.
Funny.
Go ahead.
Everybody nowadays is like, everybody's getting all ticked off about the Batman Superman casting.
Oh, with Ben Affleck and
Ben Affleck as Batman, and
well, did you hear
today Jesse Eisenberg?
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg is Lex Luthor.
And so people are losing their shit over this, and now people are starting to get ridiculous. And I'm just saying, well, they might as well cast Johnny Depp as Apache Chief or something,
It's not going to happen. Man.
No, of course it's not going to happen. But
yeah. Well, they were originally
saying because he's already worn Indian gear as Tonto, so just slap that on him.
Did you even see The Lone Ranger?
Hell no!
Yeah, it was good.
I doubt it.
Just give it a chance. My
Okay,
goodness.
I'll rent it.
My goodness.
I'll get it on demand.
Okay.
then you could pay me back the $3.99.
Okay, I'll pay you back the $3.
Yeah.
Or whatever it costs.
So yeah,
okay,
all kinds of Stephen King.
Yeah, we're going
movies are
on.
just awesome.
Yeah, there's some great ones. There's some bad ones.
And how great was Tim Curry in it?
Yes.
Amazing.
Actually, I got
there we go.
Tim Curry.
Pennywise.
Right. There he is.
Hi, Pennywise.
Yeah, they're actually starting to bring a few more things of him out. Yeah. They all float.
Everything floats down here.
Yeah, they're actually starting to bring more stuff of Pennywise out now. I think he's getting more popular.
A cult following.
Yeah, it's amazing because the movie came out over 20 years ago.
Yes.
But yeah, I think
soon they're going to have like nothing but Pennywise stuff in Hot Topic. Just watch.
Don't talk about Hot Topic. But yeah, Stephen King, I mean, he's my favorite author, and I think he is, people look at him, I think, with so much more respect than they did.
Was Scotty trying to beam me up? What was going on?
Oh, I think that's the Freddy sign in the back.
Oh, okay.
Just every time something moves, it sets it off.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, for a long time, Stephen King was just known as a horror writer, and then you see movies like Green Mile, you see Shawshank Redemption, you see Stand By Me, which is based on The Body.
Yep.
Dolores Claiborne, Hearts in Atlantis. There's a lot. I mean, he's just a great writer.
He is a great writer overall.
Yeah.
Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite movies of all time.
See, Green Mile is mine. It's like I love Shawshank Redemption, but for some reason, the Green Mile is like
I love that too.
Yeah, it's perfectly cast, perfectly written, and Frank Darabont. Can't say enough good things about him.
That's very true.
Who actually was instrumental in The Walking Dead becoming a reality. Yeah,
that's right.
I don't know. I'm mad that he's not on Walking Dead anymore. That's a shame. That's a different subject matter.
I'm still gonna watch it though.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah, can't not watch The Walking Dead.
That's true.